What's up, chimps? Today's vlog is a behind-the-scenes look at me and Chris at our radio podcast interview. And I say our because I'm his manager. It's really on his animated little short. It's 10 minutes long called REDRESS. Hey!
You got it, yup.
So we are on our way to Connecticut from New York. But first, watch the road.
I like to try and kill us.
And second, Duncan! Woo! Obviously, I'm more European than him. I need coffee. I want to go to Dunkin' Donuts.
Learn something new every day.
Hashtag Dunkin' sponsor us. I said Dunkin' Donuts.
Alright, so we're gonna stop by the Dunkin' because Alexia runs on Dunkin', obviously.
The alternative was what?
Espresso machine?
No, that's not what you said. Now that I turn the camera on, you change your story up.
My story is always the same.
Okay. Yeah, story's always the same, chimps. But Dunkin's 2 blocks in the opposite direction, already causing problems. I'm not even usually awake at this time, so homeboy's complaining for what? Like,
I'm not about what? What the heck? You being a free.
Look at him switching it up again when the camera's on.
I'm complaining. I'm like, dude, we're gonna be so late because of
Yo,
you.
he just ran a red light.
No, it didn't. The light is here.
You said 2 blocks.
No, you had to record that.
This has been way more than 2
the
blocks.
archive files right here.
This is behind the scenes. Oh, here it is.
I just want you to know what I be dealing with CEO.
Yay, coffee.
Are you happy? Is it good?
Yes. All right, got my Dunkin'. Finally got his eyes back on the road. We are still ahead of schedule. We were scheduled to arrive before noon. We're going to meet up with his friend Raheem really quick and take it from there. Oh, he used your picture. Did you speak to him on the side about that?
No, not at all. I did not.
Wow, well that picture is already branding you. That picture's on your website. I was choosing a new picture because this is a new endeavor.
Let him know.
I will.
All right.
You best believe I will. Yo, keep your eyes on the road.
I am.
CEO doesn't just rap, he also animates. What? If you haven't checked out, is that a word? Yes.
Written, directed, and animated by me.
Yes.
REDRESS.
So, stick around to see CEO's interview. We made it in the elevator, going up. Hey, and it's Raheem. What's up?
Good to see you.
Aww.
How you been?
Good, good. Yeah, let's hit it.
Thank you. This is cute. What the heck? Then I'm gonna have my own background.
Good afternoon, everybody, and I am Julie Gambale of Digital Media Sync. This is our very first Digital Media Sync of the new year. So I just want to start off by saying Happy New Year to everybody. And I am so very excited because I get to share this very first Digital Media Sync episode with my very, very good friend, Raheem Nelson. And you've seen him plenty of times before, but this is going to be a little bit different because not only am I changing this up with a co-host, but I'm actually going to let Raheem take over this very first Digital Media Sync of 2022. Dude, that means you're super special.
How's it feel?
Pretty good. I feel honored.
So Ron, now you have the floor and you have the larger screen. So it's all up to you at this point.
Cool. I'm very honored, Julia. Thanks so much for just running with this idea that I had to highlight, my good friends, Chris and Alexia. I love the work that they do together. Chris is a notable hip hop artist, visionary, and he re-released this short film / animation called REDRESS. And I actually missed it the first time because we went to the same college together in New York, SVA. And he streamed it for his thesis project in the SVA theater. And I was in New Haven at the time, so I missed it. So when I found out he was re-releasing it, I got a chance to watch it, and I was just blown away. And I knew that you had this platform, Julia, that you've been so gracious with, and I figured it'd just be a great opportunity for us to watch the film and talk about it. So, Chris, can you tell me about the film a little bit, kind of set it up for us, for the audience, so that we'll be able to just go?
Yeah, sure. Redress is a revenge story where Samuel Thompson meets his father in the hospital, Alex Thompson, and discovers, the mystery of why his mother went missing as a child, and actually finds out the truth that his father had been hiding from him all these years. I don't want to give away too much because you got to watch the movie, and there's a twist.
Cool, excellent. So before we get into that and set it up, just real quick, can you and Alexia talk about the work that you do together for our audience?
Oh man, we do a lot. We do vlogging, hip hop shows, music videos, studio recording sessions, writing, a lot of traveling, editing. Alexia single-handedly runs the entire YouTube channel that we have going on.
Amazing.
She also helps with organizing everything as far as like directing the music videos, with casting, as far as like the shots as well. Like it's really like a hand-in-hand thing, It's like that saying, both one hand washes the other, so both can wash the face.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's definitely
dropping me now.
Well, first, if I can, Raheem, thank you so much for having us here as well.
Pleasure.
This is our first time doing this, and I really appreciate the time. So going off of what Chris had said, I started off as his producer and then ended up his manager. So all of those things we do as a team. So Chris's rapping skills are way beyond. If you can check out our YouTube channel, Behind the Struggle, he has done rap battles, freestyles. Some of his music video links are there as well, which we have both produced, directed, and edited. So this animation is actually like a sort of a step to the left because his talent doesn't end at rap, and it's already like amazing.
Appreciate that. And that was actually one of the reasons why I decided to release the film now. I feel a lot of people nowadays, they know me for like my music and music videos, but I did come from like a drawing background, artistic background in animation and directing film. So I just felt now was the proper time and at least a little time span that I have a little gap while working on my second project.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you both for the intro. Julia, if you can set that up for us so we can watch and then get into the Q&A.
As a noun, redress is usually defined as the setting right of what is wrong. As a verb, redress is usually defined as to set right, remedy or repair, wrongs, injuries, etc.
Okay. Wow, I have a lot to say about it. And what I want to say first was actually my second time watching it. And I know we've had a lot of conversations about the film and just other things that I might look for upon second viewing.
Yeah.
And I think for me, what really stood out was like your restraint and how you have moments in the film where you've just got like, in the hospital where you can just hear the beep, beep of a machine. And then like you're letting things go and you're pulling things back in, like ramping up the mood, like, after the main character gets shot, for instance, and just like my initial reaction, I was like, whoa, like, okay. So I applaud your storytelling, and I also applaud how you convey emotion to the characters' faces. Like, I think that's something that I picked up on the second viewing, because I think for the first viewing, I was so focused on the story and just little story threads and how things are going together. But in this second viewing, it's like, oh, wow, like you're conveying like the pain and the strife that these characters are going through. So, I definitely applaud you for, all that work.
Oh, I
And I have
appreciate
a
it.
ton of questions for you as well.
Sure.
Alexia, I wanted to get your take on it as well, because wasn't that your first time?
That was my
watching it?
first time watching it.
Yeah, amazing.
I'm just kidding.
I was like, let me check.
No, I'm just kidding.
So what were your impressions and re-impressions of the film?
I like how you called out the emotions and stuff, because I think that is the hardest thing to convey, because as you know, the face has like the most muscles and the smallest amount of square footage or whatever. So it is pretty wild that you were able to convey that. Similarly, though, the biggest question I had, I don't want to jump the gun, was when, the animation was talking, like how you draw them talking, because that's even just as wild to me as the emotions. So I wanted to touch on that in a bit, but their mouths moving.
Yeah, Chris, what was that process like for you?
All right, so this film, there was a lot of first times for me, but this was a very ambitious project at the time. Like, watching it kind of takes me back to it, I guess, just to kind of get some context before going into it. During that year, for my college year, they strongly advised doing a film no longer than 3 minutes. Because animation usually is about 24 frames per second. So depending on how you're shooting it, if you're shooting on 2s or 1s, you're looking at drawing 24 different drawings for every second. And my film is 10 minutes. It's 3 times and then some the amount of what is expected to be.
Right.
So doing that, and then I had, scored music, characters actually doing dialogue and voiceover, and then a very intricate story. So I had to learn a lot of things. And going to Alexia's question, the mouse syncing that was my first time ever doing it.
Wow.
So I remember getting all of the voice actors, renting the booth for about a month straight, and going over lines with them over and over. Because usually when you're writing something, it sounds good, like from a reading aspect, but when you're actually hearing the words and how it's being delivered, the emotion that you want to come across, it wasn't work, because I had to omit and kind of remove and re-edit things. And sometimes my rapping ability would come into it, so I write lines that sounded like a rap, and I was like, that's way too many syllables in that. But what I learned to kind of make my life easier was there are certain words in the alphabet where our mouths form like the same kind of like movements. So for the words like M, P, or B, and then E, C, D. So when I had that, I would scrub the dialogue, listen for these words, and then I would put like pre-made like lips and mouths on the characters for that, so it hit those notes, and then I would in between everything in between it to kind of smooth the lip movements.
I just imagined you in a mirror being like, boy.
I mean, it was difficult because as you see in some of the characters, there's a lot of different angles that they're doing, and like the face has so many like different dimensions and layers. So trying to do that in the right way so the lips didn't look weird but kind of natural was definitely a learning process.
Oh, I can imagine. Let me pull up some other questions here too for reference. Okay, so what inspired you to write the film initially, and what did you want to accomplish with it?
Oh, okay. What initially inspired me to write the film, I've always been a big fan of film noir, and I also do love movies that have a twist, but I hate it when you see the twist coming. So initially, I don't know if anybody here has seen the movie Rush Hour 3.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of the viewers have.
I mean, it's one of the movies I think get talked about enough, just because Rush Hour 2 is arguably like the better one, but that's another conversation for another time. One of the characters in there by the actress Naomi Lenore, she plays a character in that film that's actually, she's wearing a wig, and then the two characters are looking for a said scroll or a secret, and she takes off the wig and she happens to be like a bald like woman, and then it's tattooed on the back of her head. And there was a shot where she had like a trench coat and she's holding like these two guns, and I just thought to myself, because as you look at like cartoons nowadays, there's so many designs and characters, like crazy hairdos and colors. It's like, how do you like create a character that stands out? And for some reason that shot stood out to me, and I just thought to myself, in real life, like, what would be like a kind of person that if they walked by me would just automatically get my attention? And there was this, it was really inspired by her, the character Nasasa, where it's just this tall, slender woman with tan skin, green eyes, but no hair, just completely bald, but still remain like held onto like her feminine like features. And because of that, I initially wrote the character Nasasa first, and I went through the script many different times, and I initially came to this film where I didn't want to do like a typical origin story. I wanted to tell the story of a character through the lives of other people.
Yeah.
So when you watch the film again, you'll notice that, yeah, I created the characters Alex Thompson, Jules Spicer, Lola, and Samuel just to tell like a bigger story of what's going on with Nasasa, because it really is her story told through the lives of other people, but it also kind of goes with the theme of revenge and how at the end of the day, revenge doesn't solve the problem. If anything, it just creates further ripples and affects other people that you're not realizing. So
yeah, definitely. I get the theme of violence begetting violence, and then you have callbacks to when Nasasa was a child, and then witnessing the murder, and just bringing it all back together. And she's the type of character who's striking, but at the same time, like it's somebody you could, just pass. And your supposedly central character was walking through the hospital, and he's on his revenge mission, not even noticing her. And then that ends up being his downfall. Like, so I really enjoy shots like that, storylines like that. And then you bringing it all back together at the end, like, oh, in case you missed it, like, this is what's going on. Because you set it up in a way, like, if you're looking for it, you might be able to figure out, hey, like, this is what's potentially coming. Or, like, if you're missing it, I'm glad you present that at the end as well.
Because that one black and white shot, right? Where everything's black and white except for her green eyes.
Excellent storytelling.
So it's all things like that, like little nuggets that I put into the film. I always, for me personally, I won't say I always judge, but I strongly judge, like more times than not, a film based on its opening, because it's all about like how does it capture you to like bring you into that world to then kind of like, all right, I'm invested and I want to stick around to find out what's going on. So with the movie, it's 10 minutes, but I was like, all right, in the first 30 seconds to a minute, I got to just throw you into it. And you're like, I don't know what's going on, but there's a lot of information. And I'm seeing a lot of things, and I can't really find a correlation between all of them. But at the end of the day, it's like, all right, now I got to kind of know what's going on. And I kind of look at it just a roller coaster ride. I look at that same way with my music, but also with film, is that there's waves and you have your highs and your lows. And one of the beautiful things about the character Nasasa, which I actually like about her being bald, it allows her to disguise herself, because you'll notice in the hallway shot she has hair.
Right.
And that character, so funny thing about the character, if no one like knew it, the name Nasasa is the word assassin spelled backwards. So she is an assassin, but that's another story like that I kind of want to get into.
Okay, yeah, I think that leads right into my next question too, which is, so where did the character Nasasa come from? You kind of touched on that a bit. And then do you have plans for a sequel to continue the story? I know we talked a little bit about that, so if you can let our audience know as well.
So this film was more of a proof of concept. I mean, I think writing and like telling it doesn't really do it justice unless you're able to like visually see it and see the tone that I'm trying to go for with the film. So it's kind of, I guess like a sampler taste. But I do have plans for a sequel. I mean, I have a lot of plans to expand the universe of it. The second film actually takes place in the past, but parallel to this film. And then the third film that I had in mind actually takes place after the events of the murder of Jules Spicer and Samuel getting shot in the head. Then after that film, there's then like a series that I wrote that takes place after that. So I do have plans to expand it. Like,
and when is the time for all of this?
So hopefully, if someone sees this, they can give us the funding to do that. I have a lot of characters written for it, and the second film for me is mostly the story of Nisasa, like, and it takes place after her parents were killed, and Alex Thompson runs out that doorway, and she's trying to figure out who's the man that murdered her parents. And not to go too much into the details, but she's never found. And there's another character in that film by the name of Scarlett, and she's basically a sniper for the military who's back at home on leave, but she's unable to like have children.
Spoiler.
Yeah, well, that's and she comes across Nisasa's character, but Nisasa doesn't say anything. She doesn't know where she's from, anything about her family, and it's really the story of these two broken people who are leaning on one another to like fill the voids of the things that they lack, and then kind of like fill that void. But then there's an event, which I don't want to get to the actual spoiler, that happens that turns Nisasa down this path of revenge to chase the man that killed her parents initially.
Gotcha.
So
cool.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about the reception to the film when you released it at SVA for the thesis year versus the reception now. Like, how would you compare the two?
That's a really good question.
Well, thank you. I do my homework.
Yeah, so the reception of the film at the time, so you and I went to the same college, so usually when you're an artist and you're caught like in that world of other art majors, you kind of get stuck in a bubble, so you become like a perfectionist as far as like what you're trying to do, and you try to like make everything perfect. And I realized like later on in life that people don't really care about all that as long as it's entertaining, and as long as it's enjoyable and you're able to like strike a tone with it. And that's was one of the reasons I decided to re-release the film. I discussed it with Alexia after I had done a couple rap battles in the first album, but it was also like a coworker a couple of years back I showed it to, and I didn't tell him the film was by me. We were just talking about animation. He was saying he likes Avatar, and I was like, oh, I got a movie that you might like, it's short. And I played it. It said nothing that, oh yeah, I made this. I just had him watch it, and he just seemed like so like enthralled by what he was viewing. And then when my name came at the end, he kind of freaked out. He was like, that was you? He was like, I thought you were just like a rapper. And I was like, no, I was like, in another life I did this, and then he ran around, told everybody, and it kind of, for me, it kind of breathed new life into the film. But when the film initially came out, when I was in college, actually, I think a lot of people kind of saw me as like cocky or conceited. I don't know, because I had taken on such a daunting task. So like, I think a lot of people like expected me to fail. Like they didn't want the film to do good. Because I remember once the film had finished and the theater had let out, I remember the girl, Christine, who had won Best Film last year, she came up to me and told me I had the best film of this year.
Wow.
And then all the professors that came up to me, they told me, they're like, wow, they're like, I was wrong about this film. Like, you need to do live action. Like, you have the eye for it. And then a bunch of my classmates, they were drinking, so obviously the truth was coming out. And they were just like, yeah, we thought it was going to be dragging and boring, but like I was really engaged the whole time.
Yeah, there was a 3-minute time limit. You are doing 10 minutes.
So yeah, that's what it was. I think my favorite thing though from the movie that I still remember to this day was when the film first premiered and nobody knew what it was. That scene where Samuel gets shot in the head. I'm telling you, like the people who were there, you could literally hear a pin drop because when he gets shot, you heard it like unanimously throughout the audience. Everybody's like, they didn't know. Like, I thought I knew what was going on, and now just the rug just got pulled from underneath me. So I think it's moments like that that makes a film memorable.
Yeah, definitely. I really, really appreciated that there was spectacle with it, like with the death scene at the end. And there was just like so much meat to it within like the 10 plus minutes that you had for the film. And it's just like a great balance to it. Like, I think of how you are as an MC and how you have intricate rhyme schemes and everything, but also it's entertaining. And that's also what I found that I really enjoyed about this film, is like you just had a mix of like style and substance.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, that's what I try to do sometimes.
Yeah, you nailed it. Anything to add, Alexia, on the film and first impressions and just what you left with?
What you got?
Well, as a editor / producer myself, you know, like a typical film, for every second you're watching on the big screen takes approximately an hour of production. I'm not an animator, so I mean, that's already impressive, but I can't imagine how long each second of that film took, like you said, about the 24 frames, because it's the same in like, you know, moving images, but I'm editing, you know, for an hour per second, and I'm just like, there's no way. It took way longer than that. There's no way.
Yeah, so I can answer that by saying this. So usually in our senior year of college, you have that whole year to make the film.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't start in my senior year. I started in my junior year.
Mm-hmm.
The film literally took me 2.5 years to make.
Yeah.
And I wrote the script 27 different times.
Mm.
And I drew the majority of it all by myself. Like, I remember, like, there's a scene where the hand is exchanging the note. Asking anybody in animation, they'll tell you hands are probably the hardest things to animate.
I believe it.
And to do that exchange with the motion and opening the letter took forever to make it look smooth, and it's such a simple gesture. But yeah, like, I remember during college, I remember having to go to the doctor, and I was like diagnosed with sleep deprivation and high stress. I was only sleeping like 3 hours a day.
Wow.
Because I was always thinking about the movie. Like, always, even when I was sleeping, I would dream about it, wake up just to find out like how to edit it, what to change, like everything. But the thing that's like, that I think has kind of aided me when it comes to my music videos as well. Animation is different in regards to film, where with film, you film everything and then you edit it down. Like, you have an idea of what you're shooting, but you don't really have full control of like what you're going to see on screen and the angles. You do have to an extent, but you have to take some liberties.
Mm-hmm.
Then in production is when you actually get to see the film.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you actually get to edit it and everything. Animation is the opposite. The film is done before you start animating.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to storyboard, animate it. Everything has to be down to the second, because you do not want to be wasting time spending a month animating a scene that's not going to make it into the final cut.
Good point. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
You know, like, there's actually a scene in the film that is completely omitted. Yeah, the reason for it, not to, I mean, that happened a while ago. My grandfather had passed away during the time, so I was unable to finish that scene. But in the shot, if you guys watch the film again, you'll see when Samuel slices Jules Spicer's throat, and he clings onto the blanket, he's wearing a ring.
Yeah, I noticed that.
The ring that he's wearing is the wedding ring of Alex Thompson. During that scene when he runs up the stairs, that scene where he rapes and kills Lola is actually expanded upon. He actually hits him over the head, and he's talking over him. He steps on his hand, and he removes his wedding ring, and then he rapes his wife in front of him and then murders her. And before he says that, he puts on the ring and says, "Till death do us part." So it's kind of like a twist to it, where, like, not twist, but twisted.
Yeah, my gosh.
Where he basically is still wearing that ring years later. You know?
He was wearing the ring, though, when he was already doing the deed in the room. So this scene was before he ran up the stairs?
No, he took the ring after Alex Thompson breaks into the room. Like, I had to cut it. So when Alex Thompson is saying, like, "You son of a bitch," and he runs a 2-minute cuts to Jules Spicer, and he does a smile, and he pulls the gun from his back.
So that was the significance of the ring then, because I noticed him wearing it both times, and I was like, okay, he's married, so.
Yeah, so, like, I had to cut it, because literally after the part when Alex Thompson runs after him, there's supposed to be another goon that hits Alex Thompson in the head and knocks him to the ground.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's the goon that you see him speaking with in prison.
Oh, okay.
He was there in the same room, and he was the one that took the call.
Oh, why'd you cut that out then?
Because it was going to take me like another 3 months to animate it.
Director's cut.
Yeah, director's cut. But yeah, that's there was a whole part there because.
Well, impressive that the story still went without that little scene that you did.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like I had to like figure out in editing, like how can I still tell the story and the pacing while still omitting like this scene. So
actually have a question from we have a comment and a question from the audience. So one of our audience members actually said thank you, and that was great. I had to say that I did jump when Sam, I literally physically jumped when Sam got, like I wasn't expecting that at all, because it was the one thing, I'm going to get to the question in a second, but I had one comment was about the score, because I was following the score. The music was very dramatic. It was very emotional and kind of lead it. And then all of a sudden when like Sam got shot, I was just like, what? So that was just like really interesting for me. Like everybody has like a piece, I think, of something that they're following. And I don't know why that was like, that led to the drama for me, but then it still like hit me in the face. But we did have a comment or a question from Rick, and I kind of wanted to expand upon it as well. And he asked if there are any tips for up and coming artists and filmmakers to get started. And the interesting thing is like you did a 10-minute film, and it's now on YouTube. The length was absolutely perfect, and that it didn't feel condensed or anything like that. It felt like this was a vignette. It had that noir feel to it. And it's in a venue and a platform that people often watch. Like I will watch YouTube channels and that sort of thing. So can you speak on that and how that works for young filmmakers as well?
Honestly, I would just say if you have a vision and you have something that you want to do it. You know, you'll find a way, you'll find the people that want to be a part of it. And it's going to be hard. It's definitely not going to be easy, but anything worthwhile is not, easy to do to begin with. So I would say, if anything, what I did with this film was I worked backwards. The film was obviously way above my skill level at the time, but I like dedicated and made up my mind, like this is what I was going to do. And then I kind of reverse engineered, went backwards to figure out, okay, this is the goal. How am I going to accomplish that? So there was that. As far as the artists that I worked with, there was a lot of artists that I worked with. But to me, it's always beneficial to get other eyes on a project that you're working on, because sometimes you can get so focused on what you're doing that you're not really seeing the bigger picture.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a quote that I love a lot that says, sometimes you focus so much on one tree that you forget to step back and see the forest. So that's usually kind of what it was. So having different collaborators and people be a part of the project definitely helped evolve it. But another thing I will say for any artists watching, like upcoming filmmakers, you also have to be mindful though of the advice that you're taking in. You have to make sure it's constructive and something that's insightful that can help you advance, because a critique that's vague, like I just didn't like it, is not helpful. It doesn't help you build on like, okay, well, what did you not like about it? Like, how can I fix that? But at the end of the day, like you also have to be willing to receive criticism.
Yeah.
Like, because at the end of the day, like the project, if you hold it too close to heart, you don't allow it the room to grow, to evolve. And you need to get that input, but you have to be mindful of the input that you're taking in.
Good advice.
Very well said.
That helps.
Oh yeah, it's like you came prepared for this or something. What are your closing thoughts on not only creating such a masterful short film, releasing it in college, but now getting to re-release it and share it with an entire new audience, and having like those years in between to like really reflect? Like, what has that been like for you?
Wow, that's a deep question.
I think he's very lucky to have it released twice. Just saying.
I actually would agree with that. I would agree with that statement. I mean, I feel like right now the film has like new life, like a second life to it. But I am also very happy at the time and dedication that I put into it at the time when I was in college, because you know, I'm sure we've all had things that we've created when we were younger that just don't really stand the test of time. That don't really, like, it's kind of like, oh yeah, you can see us. You even see it with movies that we watch. Like, oh yeah, that was very of the time. But I don't know. I guess.
So really quickly, have you edited significant amounts between the college release and this one, or did you kind of just like re-release it? Like, this is what I did X amount of years ago.
I re-released it as it was.
That's even amazing. More impressive.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but there's literally no change to it at all. I mean, I just upped the resolution, changed a couple of things in the end credits, but that was really it. You know, so music in films in general, but also because I come from a music background, doing hip hop. In a movie, music tells you how to feel. You know, so it is the driving force that you don't subconsciously like really pick up on. But at the end of it, like, also you have to be mindful when it comes to pacing, when to remove the music, because it's almost like dropping somebody in a dark room. It's like, okay, like the music is guiding you, and then the second you take that away and you just leave the ambience of the elements, you have no guidance, so you really don't know what to expect. So when that twist happens, you don't see it coming even more because there's nothing to, like, you know, signal it coming beforehand. It's just like, oh, okay, what's going on?
No one asked, but the score was really good because there was a point where Chris was like rewatching his movie or whatever, and I just heard the car crash, and I like came out like, did you hear that? I thought it was legitimately outside. Like, that's a true story.
Let's not play it too loud.
that was actually a funny thing in the theater when we played the film. Like, that will get your attention to open the film, you know, right away. But yeah, I mean, it just feels good to re-release the movie, get a new, fresh perspective on it, also a new audience to take a look at it, and just I'm curious to see, you know, how people feel about it, and hope it inspires others to create, you know, passion projects that they feel passionate about.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Alexia, any closing thoughts for you?
What you got?
That was my closing thoughts. Sorry for interrupting.
No, you're good. Chris and Alexia, thank you both for taking the time to come out, like coming out physically too, you know, these crazy circumstances that we live in.
No, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
It just makes a real difference that you're both here to be able to talk about the project, and, you know, absolutely love the work that you guys do together. And, you know, always a fan and collaborator, so you can count on me for that.
Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe to Behind the Struggle on YouTube.
Also to my YouTube channel, The Real
CEO. Yeah, check out his music.
On Spotify and Apple Music, a new project coming out.
Check out thisisceo.com.
That too.
All of it.
All of it, guys. All of it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Christopher Ortiz. Thank you, Alexia, as well. And thank you for sending us that film. That was wonderful. Bye, everybody.
I appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you.
My phone battery was about to die.
Yeah.
Thank goodness that. I was sweating over here like, oh my gosh. Well, Chimps, you saw it first. That was live, by the way.
Yep.
Raheem, CEO, and your girl, Alexia.
What up?
Don't forget to follow us on the gram.
That's right.
All this hair.
Bro. At Alexia Liu, this is the real CEO, and
Raheemnelsonstyle.
that's the one. That's the one you need to follow.
If you're looking to look fresh, look no more.
That's right.
Exactly. Always outdressing us. That's why I came prepared today. Like, subscribe, and comment, and let us know if you're ready to see part 2 of Redress. Right? When's it coming out? Tomorrow?
2 years. Part 2, 2 years.
Thanks so much for watching. Follow me on the gram, and I guess him too. Whatever. Bye, Chimps.
Men are not punished for their sins, but by them.